Hi crafty friends, this is card number 13 in Full Deck Challenge 3. I have my postage stamps, which are my constant. I've got them in a bright blue. And then my carryover item from last week's card will be the bright pink thread that I used behind the heart in this one. So the prompt I gave was crazy colors. For me, crazy colors are bright colors and ones that don't maybe match or you wouldn't always put together. But everyone will have their own idea of what crazy colors mean, and that is perfectly okay. I have some scrap papers for my mini collage. I have some masking tape, my black acrylic paint and a flat paintbrush for the black mark making later on. Before we start any colors, we are going to create the mini collage. If you remember, this is the overall theme for the entire challenge. I almost always use collage in my mixed media layouts, and I find this great practice. And it's fun and relaxing. And when you do the mini collage or any kind of collage in the background of your mixed media pieces, it is totally okay to cover everything up. Sometimes we do it as a starting point, somewhere to start with the blank page, and other times for me it is also about creating beautiful textures. The paints sometimes go very differently on different background papers over the edges of each piece, and it really creates a lot of interest. So I'm using a lot of neutral colors for this mini collage because I am going to put my bright colors over this. I'm applying my collage pieces with Mod Podge, and I'm also putting Mod Podge over each piece. This will allow for the acrylic paint I'm going to use later to apply better on the card. And then I just trim off the excess when everything is nice and dry. I love using pieces of masking tape as part of my background in my mixed media. It doesn't have a very smooth texture, so when the paint goes over it, it creates a really beautiful finish. At this point, I wasn't sure what colors I was going to use for my card, so I did decide to go in with some gesso to smooth off some of the edges and to lighten that background. The prompt for next week's card will be the color turquoise, and if you have a stapler, staple something on your card. Alright, I'm done with my gesso. And I actually really love the way this looks. I could totally take it in a different direction, but I am going to stick to my prompt of bright colors. So I'm going to dry the gesso well, and I have decided to go with green for my background. I'm using acrylic paint. Of course, you can use any kind of paints that you have. I have 3 different greens, and I'm just going to apply them directly onto the background. I am sort of trying to blend the colors there where they sort of meet. There is no right and wrong here, just have fun with it. Remembering that this full deck challenge that I created is about practicing different techniques on a small scale and sometimes doing things out of your comfort zone. My first layer of acrylic paint is done. Some acrylic paints are a little thinner than others, so depending on the paint that you're using, you may need a second coat if you want a less opaque finish. Here I'm using my finger to add a bit more of the green to make it a bit more bold. We're now going to go in and do some mark making with some black. You can use markers, pencils, crayons, paint, whatever you have. Using a small brush and black acrylic paint, I'm just going to make some marks on the card. That's just basically what we're doing, just making marks, whatever you feel like. You don't have to plan it. Remember, we're experimenting. I'm also going to use a black pencil and make some scribbles. I also decided to edge this one with black, dipping my black watercolor pencil just a point in some water. I'm going all the way around the edge. I believe this creates good contrast. And my go-to for mixed media is splatter. So I'm going to go in here with some black splatter. I just love what it does to a project. And while I was drying it, whoopsies, it blew over into the black paint that I had on my desk. So it's made a bit of a darker mark there in the corner. I'm just going to wipe it with a baby wipe, and I feel we can still work with that. A good way to add contrast when you've done some mark making, especially in a darker color like black, is to add white. I'm going to use a liquid paper pen, also known as Tipex or whiteout, and I'm going to go around each of the little black marks, just playing around with the design. And then also making some white marks. Try to let go of the fear of making a mess. And if you do make a mess, that is also okay. That is how we learn, and I strongly believe you don't have to love every project you create. I certainly don't love everything that I create. Also some additional marks with a black fine liner pen. I'm now going to add my stamps. They were that bright blue, if you remember, and to make them connect a little bit to my piece, I am going to add some green on them in the form of green splatter. They're quite bold because they're blue and they're going to go onto the green, so I'm going to make them a little bit of a focal point. Or let's just say you won't be able to miss them on the card. I'm going to bend one in half and put it on sort of like a tab, and the other one will go onto the card. It's never too late to join in the Full Deck Challenge. You can join at any time. I will put the link to the playlists for the other 2 decks in the description box below. And if you're on Facebook, you can join my group. Just search Full Deck Challenge Group. I'm just going to staple that on. I love my stapling. That's why I've added it as a prompt for next week. Some more crazy colors, and my carryover from last week is the pink thread. So we've got green, pink and blue. Well, I think that's pretty crazy. And I'm just going to add that pink thread underneath the main blue stamp. I really hope you enjoyed this video of card number 13 in Full Deck Challenge 3 and were inspired to create your own and maybe even join the challenge. The videos for each card are aired every Thursday at 11 p.m. Melbourne, Australia time. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Thanks again for watching, happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.